Thanks, Chip, and good evening. And tonight, I am here not talking to you as a board member of ARTSpeaks, but as a business guy and parent of kids that happen to grow up in 204. I spent much of my time on the road in the dark in hotel ballrooms and convention centers and theaters and special event places that people would kill to have their wedding at. I'm out of the spotlight of the stage. I'm rarely seen by the audience, and I've woken up in the middle of the night plenty of times and walked into the walls of my hotel room because I just plain forget where I am. And I've met and directed and hired so many amazing people that you see in the media and that are today's influencers and leaders. I've received my third passport as my first two books are completely filled for the stamps of countries that I've produced events in. My days are long, often working 12 to 15 hours a day, several weeks in a row, and with very little time off. And most of my office days are a welcome respite to my road days. I'm an event producer and co-founder of One Smooth Stone, an event and communication agency. Now in our 19th year, despite the pressure to deliver and perform and travel, I'm doing exactly what I believe I was built for. We produce business theater in a ballroom or a convention center or legitimate theater for private and publicly traded companies. When an organization gets large enough, they need help communicating to groups of people that are really critical to their success. That could look like a sales organization, could look like a leadership team that represents the top 5% of their company, or possibly customers. And whether it's 150 or 5,000, there are common elements that make up the complexity. There's a strategy that all companies need that supports the business goals. It all needs to start there. We then become an advocate for that audience. There's a communications plan. How are we going to communicate these things? There's a creative architecture that happens, whether it's visual art direction, could be music, could be theatrical. These applications we put to presentations that are most of the time kind of boring when you go to these business presentations. And then there's the technical production, much like we have today. I'm using a microphone, we have lights in the room that we need to see, we have screens. And there's also the basic logistics, like how are they going to get there, where are they sleeping, what are they eating, and that underlies the event. And our examples look quite different. It could be very theatrical with a presentation where we're trying to communicate a message and doing it in a very, very, as I said, theatrical way. It could be something that's very, very stripped down when it's in the round and all we need is a minimalistic look to it to communicate to a large group of people. It might take a new experience for a client wanting to get into our industry and really communicating better and showing them how to do pixel mapping, which is a new technology being used by companies, and making it affordable to someone that may necessarily not be able to afford it. It might like going into an office and rehearsing 500 people in the morning that they had no idea that they're going to be participating in a flash mob that afternoon. It might look like a special event space, taking an old abandoned sugar mill and turning it into something creative and using it as an experience that's something people have never experienced before. It might be taking an experience and using something as simple as wine service and turning it into a spectacle. Creating a first-time experience like Hawaii's first stage ever in the ocean. It might look like a private concert with heart on a beach at a really, really nice resort somewhere. And now also, when this video plays, this is just a quick example of what something looks like with not a lot of production value, but a way to get a company engaged throughout a few days to get them understanding what the company message is and also for them to actually enjoy being there together and take away messages back to their other employees. So check this out.
Right here inside us, no one can do just like a heartbeat. The drum beat carries on, and the drum beat carries on. We must stand together. There's no giving in. Hand in hand forever. That's when we all win. That's when we all win. That's when we all win.
But that's enough about One Smooth Stone right now and what I do now. I'm going to take you back in time and also share with you, with humility, how I got to where I am today and using arts as the vehicle, in particular music. A producer, which ultimately is what I am, requires a unique set of skills that separates us from a lot of different professions. It requires a split of the left and the right brain and the need to remain perfectly balanced, both in creativity and also in organization and logic. My first career in the arts was essential to helping me develop to be comfortable with my unique set of traits and skills. So in kindergarten, let me take you back that far, I started on the chord organ. My grandmother bought me a chord organ, and I'm banging it out in my bedroom, playing a chord and figuring it out all by ear. So I had some amazing ear training when I was a kid. By the time third grade came around, my parents bought me my first organ. It's a spinet, so it's not super huge yet. And I start taking lessons. Well, I absolutely love this thing, driving my parents crazy because I'm playing it all the time. Sixth grade hits, I graduate to the full theater organ. Contoured pedals, a couple different keyboards, and I also had a synthesizer on top, so I could start experimenting with sounds. And I kind of turned into an official geeky kid at that time. I played some sports too. I was playing baseball and also tennis. And then seventh grade hit, and I discovered rock and roll in synthesizers. Oh my gosh, my head turned on its side. And in eighth grade, had my first band, my first gig, and my first rig, which included a Fender Rhodes piano, which at the time was pretty cool. In high school, I was in a few bands, in particular, and quite appropriately named The Kids. And I co-wrote my first song with one of my other band members that put us on the radio. And for those of you that grew up in Chicago, if you remember WMET, they used to do these contests. Well, we were the Punky Kids, 16 years old, almost 15, almost 16, and we were asked to be playing in some places we probably shouldn't get into. So our parents were really nice and generous and got us in, and we were competing with the 21 and 25-year-olds and the 30-year-olds in bands, and here us are little Punky Kids. But we found out a way to write good music, and our parents were very helpful at that time. And right now, sports started to fade in my life. I didn't have enough time to do it, and I quickly learned the value of investing in your craft, and my craft at that time was playing the keyboards. And about this time also, I discovered the piano. The organ was starting to go behind, but what a great vehicle to get me to where I did. It took all the formalized lessons, all the practicing, and all the equipment and the synthesizers. I spent a lot of money on equipment. I turned out to be a technology geek. I loved programming, and I invested thousands of hours imitating sounds and inventing new ones, along with continuing on with my craft. Along came junior year, and then I discovered that I could sing. I tried singing before, but I got into a cappella choir, and I had a very influential teacher and mentor at Downers Grove South, for those of you that grew up around here, a Mustang, just like Mattia here. And she taught me what real singing was about, and also challenged me as a person in how to develop, and pushed me to be my best. Well, all of a sudden, I realized I really liked starting arranging vocals. My senior year, I quit mandrigals. Big surprise to my teacher. And I still kind of regret that in this day. I was still in a cappella and also on the road to be an orthopedic surgeon. Curveball. I was a math and science geek also. Loved it. And loved anatomy. Still do. But I turned to my passion, which was music, and I remember the day that I told my dad that I was not going to be going to medical school. He almost stopped the car and screeched the tires and looked at me. What on earth are you doing? Like, I got to go chase this. It's the right time, and I feel like this is what I'm called to do. I went to Columbia College here in Chicago. Wanted to be a studio producer. Continue to be in the studio, continue writing, helping other artists develop. Went to Columbia for 2 years, and then I had an opportunity to go travel with the band, the All Night Newsboys, and I ended up taking 2 years off of college. And at the time, my mom encouraged me to go chase my dream and go do what I needed to do. We went across the country playing college festivals and fairs, and what an experience that I had for 2 years. We played about 240 dates a year. And what a big difference that makes when you play so much. My chops were on. I could do almost anything. And I decided at some point after 2 years of that, I couldn't do it anymore. Started getting tired of 240 dates on the road and decided, you know what, I need to stay in a band closer to Chicago. So now I found a band to stay local, and I only played about 200 dates a year. Well, those 40 dates make a huge difference. It puts you down to about 4 days a week playing and being up in front of people. But I decided I needed to go back to school because I really started to capture a vision of what I wanted to do. So I went back and to finish my degree. And despite my continued efforts of writing and performance and my chops being the best and being on stage, I realized that I was created really for something different. I enjoyed creating something for nothing, and after enough performances, you start peeling your eyes away from the music and your thoughts out of your part, the specific thing that you're doing, and muscle memory kicks in. And you kind of rise above and transcend above what you're actually doing. In my part, it was music, and you start engaging with the audience, and you now start to pick out things and experiment of what you find to move them. And I thought this was just amazing, and it really created a self-awareness for me of while I was playing and how I was interacting. And that's when I really started to separate from my actual craft. Now here's my challenge to almost anyone. What is the application of your personality and skills outside of your craft? What can you create and imagine? As I started to dissect what I learned, I really liked business and marketing, and that really complemented my producer mindset. I got a communications degree that was art and entertainment management focused. So I finished school, and with the band that I was in at the time, I played a massive event for McDonald's. It was down at Hyatt Regency Chicago. There were probably 5,000 people there, and we were one of like 3 or 4 bands in this amazing environment. And I thought, what is this? Come to realize this was the world of production and corporate production, that people actually paid for bands and did programs for inside of companies. This was my create and imagine moment. I realized that I'd found my next career. I became really good at producing talent and then saw an opportunity in our market that business communications had really matured to a point where they need producers, and they need to produce the business message and not just the entertainment side of it. So my boss at the time, and to this day, very good friend and business partner at One Smith Stone, we left 19 years ago to start One Smith Stone. And along the way, my musical journey, everything I experienced close to the stage taught me to do exactly what I'm doing today. I started on the organ. And the organ is this complex instrument where you read 3 stabs of music and you have to worry about sounds and changing stops and volume, and you're using your pedals in both feet. And it taught me how to multitask along with being able to focus incredibly tight in some times. And that also taught me how to think in musical thoughts. I have a vibrant visual of a keyboard in my mind. And this translated into my band of being able to map things out and see things, because inside of a band you're dealing with the culture, you're dealing with philosophy or psychology, you're listening incredibly, you're solving some complex problems, and you're also a communicator. And as I look back at my music, I also think about rhythm, that everything in this world has a cadence, a beat, a cycle, and timing, whether it's the markets, whether it's people, electronics, or even an engine, because a mechanic will really listen to an engine to find out what the problem is. And our brains constantly want to organize things, and I use rhythm as one of my organization methods. I also realize that I am an empowerer and I'm a catalyst. I'm not the star. When I was playing, I realized I wasn't the best. I saw a lot of other people that were better than me. But I was the guy always looking to take whatever I was involved with and make it better and turn it to great. What did I have to do to remove the barriers and the obstacles and bringing out the highlights of personality and talent? And in my band, I was the guy dealing with the legal contracts, all the financial management, the technical production, the logistics, the marketing, the customer service when people had something to talk to us about, and the communication with a lot of people. And I hated writing in high school. That was a big mistake. And also, when you find simplicity in things and you're able to break down what you hear as you dig into a music and listen to maybe pull out a part, you kind of do the same thing in business too. And what I have found is that breaking things down to its most simplest elements, you look whether it's a process, a design, a conversation, a story, or even a business strategy, complexity creates problems. And making something complex is easy, for example, it's bureaucracy. But designing something simple is quite difficult, and it requires great discipline and training, and that is hard to do. And when you're a catalyst, you look for those areas and break things down into where you can influence to create some kind of a spark to move things forward or get something better. We have designed One Smooth Stone as a catalyst. We help our clients become that and try to give them a spark somewhere and try to break their things down to some simplest form and bring that out. Empowering and being a catalyst also turns into being a problem solvers, and I believe true leaders are solution-based and want to solve problems. I found out I love being in the hot seat. Absolutely love it. The dates and the times don't change in our business. I don't seek the attention, but I really enjoy handling it when all eyes are on me. And in the performance, I've learned to handle the adrenaline rush. I know my performance curve, what happens even before I walk out on this stage, or whether I'm doing a performance or whether I have a large event that I need to produce. I understand that my body knows what to do with it, and my mind and my emotions. Another subject that comes up frequently is sports. And music is a catalyst in our family for even sports. And I think even in our school district, if people think, oh my gosh, my kid's going to be in one or the other, I say you can do both. I've required our kids to take 2 years of piano. That was the rule in our house before they went to any other instrument or before they did anything else. And both kids ended up playing 3 different instruments and grew up in 204 here. I have one boy in college and also one in high school. And also the kids tried 5 different sports. Both happened to end up as pitchers. I put pitching lessons on par with piano and guitar and drums and percussion and the French horn. And music taught them how to try and fail and try and succeed and experiment and really find what they loved. Pitching is the closest I've seen that comes to anything close with dancing. Strength, balance, the repetition, the muscle memory, the precision, the rhythm, and the cadence, back to rhythm, they have to find, down to even the fine motor skills and the dexterity required to play the piano, but also hold the ball, because as you throw fastballs and sliders and cutters, it's all based on pressure points and how you hold the ball. It's not built on just how strong you are. And I think it also taught them pressure, and there's very little difference from being on stage or on a field, handling that adrenaline, being a catalyst, respecting the teamwork while still finding a way to contribute personally. So as we look at takeaways here, I've got a couple of things, actually 3 things. My first biggie is dealing with ambiguity. I think more people need to figure that out, especially our students as they're growing up. I've seen most of the times when people deal with that, you come off with anxiety or fear when people don't know how to deal. And I've learned how to deal with that in music, and I think a lot of musicians do, because you're not given everything. Although it's a sheet of music, it can be all well laid out, there's still interpretation for it. You can't just play the notes. You actually need to feel it and move forward with it. The second piece is filtering. We live in a society where there's an amazing rate of information that hits us. We need to develop tools that we have that we can filter out what's really and truly important. And music does that too. As you're looking through a piece, you need to really pick out where you're going to go, what are the critical pieces as you're going through. And finally is awareness of opportunity. When you're playing music, and when I said you transcend beyond it and start thinking about the audience and what you're doing, there are tons of opportunities that hit a musician or a person, I think, every day, whether you're in business, whether you're at home with your kids. And if you can rise above what your craft is and what you're really good at, you can now start seeing the opportunities that hit you and do something about it. I'm a living case study in the arts that are essential really to a well-rounded education. This type of education puts someone like me, and more importantly our students, in a position to be competitive, but it doesn't end there. They'll have an edge. They'll stand out from the crowd, and get the attention of a college missions counselor, or maybe one day an employer. And without creativity, I believe science is just a bunch of random elements. Technology and engineering, they just wouldn't be. And math would be a bunch of numbers. Innovation is the application of creativity to a society or a market to bring about something that's revolutionary. And in a market setting, it brings out commerce, which is what makes the world go around. This is what makes the U.S. unbeatable. We imagine and create better than anyone. The arts empower. They're a catalyst for the hard sciences that make up our world. And an example of that is design is everywhere. I look at a street corner, and whether it comes down to the street lights, a car, something that someone's holding, someone designed that and had to use creativity to take what they learned and apply it. Standing out in a crowd is only half of the equation. Seeing an opportunity and doing something about it really completes the equation. And that little guy, the goldfish, isn't that what we want for our kids? We want them to go do something about it, see an opportunity, and go attack it. Talk with your kids about being involved in the arts in some way. Talk with a friend, a coworker about their story. I hear over and over and over again, countless times, oh my gosh, I wish I would have kept playing piano. Oh, I played guitar. Oh, I sang. Oh, I danced. Oh my gosh, I put my paintbrush down so long ago. Honestly, I hear it almost several times a month. And I say it's just not worth to stopping your art. So I say go out and encourage the art out of somebody. Thank you.